So this will be the last Nimzo Indian video, and it's on Queen c2. So Queen c2 is generally considered the main line, although I can't really say that anything is specifically the main line. e3 is pretty popular these days too. Alright, Queen c2, castle, and now the two main moves here are a3 and e4. And e4 leads to a pretty complicated pawn structure, and a3 is actually extremely concrete these days. Basically, one of the lines that recently became popular is a3, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3. And the line I'm suggesting is b6, but d5 also seems to be equalizing recently. For example, bishop g5 is the main move, and c5. And now the only challenging move is d takes c5, so the lines really aren't that extensive. They're pretty short. d4 now, and there are two moves: queen g3 and queen c2. And I saw a game with queen c2, e5, and now there was a game with e4 between Drave and Wojciech. And it was from the European Championship, so it went a5, f4, h6, and e takes f4. And the game is already sufficiently complex so that we don't really need to consider this a part of the specifically a part of the opening anymore. So anyways, I'll just show how the game went, but it was messy and black had plenty of chances. So anyways, and then it reached an endgame that was approximately equal. So anyways, I'll go back and I'll show the Anand game. Anand played one game in this line. It went queen c2, e5, knight f3. And in this game it was rook e8, e3, h6, take, and bishop d3. And he regained the c5 pawn, and at that point the position was approximately equal. And yeah, it got a little bit complicated, and he played a nice little tactic with bishop takes g2 and regained the knight, but the game eventually boiled down to a draw in Mirosevic Anand. Played in France earlier this year. But anyways, it appears that this line is doing quite well, and the other line is queen g3. And this is one of my favorite lines, just because it's pretty elaborate actually. Knight b7, knight f3. And when I was looking at this for a while, and in a lot of lines white was just playing rook b1, rook d1, and b4, and keeping an extra pawn and having a great position. But the move e5 looks very strong here. e5, playing for the initiative. And the main move here is knight takes e5, knight takes, and knight takes c5. And the line I analyzed was with queen f3. And so it went queen f3, rook e8, and now knight takes f7. King takes, bishop takes. He's preparing to play queen h5 check and just take this. But it turns out take, g6, queen takes, b6. And black is able to get extremely rapid play here. So queen d5 check, bishop e6, queen f3, and rook ac8. And actually this position is at least equal for black, actually. In most cases, for example, if e3, you could take on e3 and play bishop takes c4, and if you play b3, you play b5, and black also has very strong play here. So if white defends perfectly, then it's a draw. But yeah, it's a very active and dynamic play with e5. So anyways, the other line I was suggesting is with b6, bishop g5. And the other line, knight f3, bishop e7, e3, d6, bishop e2, knight bd7, natural developmental plan. And now this line, the reputation of this line changed a couple times. So knight e4, f5, rook f6. And now this move with d5 was considered good for white. But I think that if you just take it and play rook g6, rook ad1, and now I think it might be a novelty to play c5, but it looks like the most active move. Take and rook c8. And to me it looks like black has a good position. Anyways, I'll go back a few moves. But this whole line also doesn't seem especially challenging. Bishop g5 was the main move, but even so, I think that c5 is probably stronger than bishop e7. Take, e3, and now d6. And it's not a problem, just as a side note, if you play bishop takes f6, take. And this structure is not bad at all for black, basically. Queenside castle, rook d8. Knight e2, and once you play king f8 and king e7, the structure is extremely solid, so knight c3 and just king f8, and the position can't be bad for black. So I'll go back to bishop d3 is the main move. But now knight bd7, and after knight bd7, let's see here. So we have knight bd7, if knight f3, bishop e7, castle, and a5, and the position is approximately equal. But if knight e2, which may be slightly more challenging, once again after knight e5, black's doing quite well. Castle and bishop a6, b3, take, d5. And most likely black will just place his rooks in the center somewhere on maybe on d8 and b8. So something like this, rook fd8 and rook ab8. And the position is once again probably about equal. So it appears that the play is pretty concrete in these lines nowadays, and that it's not easy to find a unique or specifically challenging idea. The other line here is e4, which I think is a little bit more challenging. And I had analyzed a bunch of lines here. First I was looking at c5, which I think is dubious now. But basically, the way that this line went was if e5, take a3, queen a5, and now sacrificing the exchange with take, f takes g7, and if king takes g7, by taking and playing bishop d3, the queen has no convenient way to escape from this threshold over here. So for example, a5. If you castle, then rook f7 appears to equalize here. But if you just play b5 and then castle, and then bishop d2, and the queen can't escape in any convenient manner again. So rook e8 is better than taking, just playing rook e8. But once again, if you just play b takes c3, black has a lot of problems on the dark squares, and white has more than full compensation. So I wouldn't really recommend playing c5 here. One line that has been played many times, and that I think is a very good line, is to play d5. And it was recently played in a Kasimjanov game